What is going on, guys? Today I have a video for you about one of my favorite stocks in the stock market right now, and it is trading at an extreme discount in my opinion to where it should be trading right now, and it's just been beaten down over and over again, and that is Meta platform. So in this video we're going to take a look at the PE ratio, what's going on with that. We're going to take a look at future price predictions, and then we're going to take a look at an article here that kind of goes over some things that were released on Monday of this week with the metaverse and kind of what's going on with all that. So that's what we're going to get into in this video. If you like the video, make sure you drop a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. So that's right. We are looking at Meta stock, and it was down almost 1% today. Over the last 5 days, down 6.9%. Over the last month, down over 20%. 6 months, we're looking at over 50%. And then over the last year, down over 54%. So it's been beaten down over and over again. It kind of peaked out here around the 380 mark, 375, 380 mark. What we can see here is 52-week high is actually 384.33. So it is down huge, over double basically where it peaked at. And that's crazy to think about. And if we actually go back and look, we can see that the March lows during 2020, when everything dipped, we can see that it got down to around 350 or 150, and that's basically where we're back at. So you're kind of purchasing Meta at a price that is similar to where it was at its lows during the pandemic. So that's very interesting and something to keep in mind. And then even before that, you have to go all the way back to 2018 to get into these same price ranges. So it's way at a discount to where it was a number of years ago, and that to me is very, very intriguing. What I always like to look at is the PE ratio of companies. And basically what we have here is, this is Yahoo Finance. And what we're looking at is the current PE ratio of Meta, and then also what previous PE ratios were for Meta. And what I find very interesting right now is, the trailing PE ratio is at 11.91. And then the forward PE ratio is actually at 13.19. So basically they're expecting sales or earnings to be lower, obviously with this forward PE ratio, because they're trying to predict basically where the company is going to be going in the future. And with that, they're basically saying that the company is going to suffer a little bit in at least the short term. Compared to the trailing PE ratio, at least, is what we're getting at there. What's also very interesting to note is back a year ago, 6/30, the PE ratio was a little over 29 for forward PE ratio, and then also almost 30 for trailing PE ratio. So that is huge and something to consideration. Let's jump into the math and get a price prediction based off those PE ratios. All right, so what we're looking at here, and let me change this real quick because now the ticker symbol has changed to Meta. So it used to be FB. And what we're looking at is the current price, which is 155. So that's what we grabbed over here. It's 155.85. Not a big deal. I'm not going to worry about the cents. The current PE ratio, and we're going to look at just the trailing. So the trailing the forward PE ratio. So we're at 13.19 for the trailing current. And then we're going to say a potential PE ratio that we could see Meta going back to is a 29.07. So let me adjust this one to 29.07. So when we look at that, we can basically form a ratio here, and we can look at the current basically a future PE multiplied by the price divided by the current PE ratio, and that gets us a potential future price if the stock were to go back to that 29 PE ratio. So when we do that, we have a price target here of $341. So a little over basically a double up there. And obviously that's huge. And then if we look at, this is the percentage, so it's 120% return. So overall, that would be a massive return. And again, this is basically with all the metrics kind of staying the same. And if all of a sudden the PE ratio jumped up to a 29, so obviously it would take a few quarters for that to happen. So earnings could adjust and things like that could affect this basically. But right now, in the short term, if all of a sudden Meta stock jumped to 29 PE ratio, it would have to be at a 341 without any change in earnings at a $341 $1.61 price tag, which would be 120% gain. So that is huge. And obviously it's huge to understand that, right, 29P ratio is not out of the realm of possibility based off what we've seen with Facebook just a year ago. The last thing I want to go over here today is this article, and it was published on June 21st. So in this article, basically they're talking about the new headsets that were released and debuted by Mark Zuckerberg and some of the other things that are kind of going on with the company. So they get into a few other things about like how the company's positioned, things like that we'll all touch on here. But this first key point that I wanted to highlight here is basically Facebook expects to spend at least $10 billion this year on research and development on virtual reality and augmented reality technologies. So that is huge. That's obviously a huge sum of money to start investing into basically the metaverse. And Facebook is starting to go all in on this new basically metaverse and what it's going to mean for society. And we're going to get into here in a second what I think like his vision could be for the metaverse and for its long-term success. So here we have, so the company formerly known as Facebook said in February that it expects to spend at least $10 billion this year on research and development on virtual reality, augmented reality technologies, including computerized glasses or headsets. Zuckerberg has bet the future of the social media network company he founded on virtual reality, which immerses users in computer-generated world and augmented reality, which superimposes computer-generated objects over the real world. So these two things, and I guess this next point here, through advanced computerized glasses. So advanced computerized glasses, basically they touch on this twice, the computerized glasses kind of aspect of things. And then the second kind of thing on here, I think when people think about Meta and think about, Oculus and where all this is going, they tend to only think the one-dimensional aspect of, hey, Meta, it's a bunch of video games for kids to play and stuff like that. But it's important to understand that, right, they're talking about superimposing computer-generated objects over the real world. So, right, if you think about this, right now they're talking about glasses as well. Glasses could easily go to contacts, right? Something that's super easy, that's unnoticeable, that just, looks very normal. And then when you're talking about superimposing computer-generated objects onto the real world, you can be talking about games, right? Things that people are actually playing and going on, like while they're just living their life, doing whatever, or even working from their glasses. That's another huge thing. Taking phone calls from your glasses or contacts or whatever they may be. And then the next aspect to that is, right, if you can superimpose computer-generated objects, what's to stop, Facebook from superimposing ads across like your normal day-to-day life? You're driving down the road and all of a sudden an ad pops up for, this new computer that you were looking at that you are thinking about purchasing. And it's popping up on the side of the road as a billboard that's computer-generated. No one had to spend any money to actually put the billboard up, and they just own this ad space. That's huge. And I think that's the vision that he's kind of seeing. So that's how they generate income, right? But then also they get people on the platform by basically creating user interfaces that benefit the end user, right? If you could take phone calls or actually just basically run your phone with your eyes, like imagine all the possibilities and all the use cases for having a computer basically just built into your glasses or contact lenses or whatever it may be. Like there are so many things that you could do with that. And that's where I actually think Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and Meta are actually taking this. I think it's a way different route than what people kind of think of when they hear Meta and just think, video games. So that's kind of my thought on all this and this little part of the article. And then we're going to get into and take a look at some of the hardware down below and some of these other points that I've highlighted. So this next point that we have highlighted here basically is talking about how Meta would have a new revenue stream of hardware sales. So that would be huge. It would control its own hardware platform, which again is massive, and basically make it less susceptible to other companies changing, which what they touch on here is Apple and iPhone. So Apple, right, they changed their privacy settings, and Meta said that could cost them $10 billion this year in revenue. So it would be huge, right, for them to have the headsets and basically have the all the hardware, software, everything behind it, and have control over all that, and basically integrate it into people's lives just like a smartphone kind of has become with Apple. And that would be huge. And then the other thing right here is, right, they right now own and basically have sold 78% of the headsets sold in 2021. So they are the main market player and have all the market cap space basically of headsets. They have almost 80% of it. And obviously that'll drop over time, but it's the same thing with Apple, right? Apple is sitting, around 50, a little bit, probably even less than 50% of the market space for smartphones. So they have a huge control over the smartphone industry, and just like that, Meta would be at the forefront of having control over all of the headset industry. And again, don't think of headsets as, hey, someone's got this blocky thing on their head. Think of it 10 years down the road when people have contacts that they literally just pop in and they are getting everything that they can imagine right in front of their face. So the very last thing in this video, this is the hardware that they kind of released and we're looking at and trying on. I'm sure these are all, prototypes and things that they're just taking a look at in the short term and kind of modifying and adjusting to what the market actually wants for certain applications. But the ones that are most interesting to me, right, are the smaller ones. Because, right, you have a lot of headsets in here. I don't even know what this one is. This looks just like a huge block. And then a lot of these, look more like the basic headsets that you've kind of seen. You've got some that are kind of smaller in here. But the everyday life-to-life applications, I don't see people, wanting to wear something like this around. And when you're talking about the real money comes from the average user, the average customer, wanting to put something like this on and wear it around throughout their everyday lives. And really what you're looking at is, this one, right, looks like it's just a normal pair of glasses. At least, according to this image. Obviously, it'd be nicer to have something closer up. Here you have, I believe they partnered with Ray-Ban. I don't quote me on that for sure, but I believe Meta has partnered with Ray-Ban to kind of design a pair. And I think that's what we're seeing here, which again, looks like very normal sunglasses, something that you could easily see someone wearing around. And then you have here, another kind of pair of glasses, not sure what's sticking up. Again, wish we had a better picture. And then here you have kind of some ski glasses, which, maybe those are actually made for skiing, I don't know, or sports or something like that. But again, interesting, smaller like profiles on these four, which are very interesting. It'll be cool to see, what the actual functionality is behind them. That's really important, and kind of go from there. So overall, let me know your opinion on kind of some of these headsets. Would you wear any of these four out in public? Maybe you're a ski glass type of guy. Personally, I wouldn't mind rocking, some Ray-Bans, especially if you're out at, and it's sunny out and during the summer right now. Those wouldn't be too terrible. Even the glasses, I have a pair of glasses that are very similar to this that I, wear from time to time. And I wouldn't even mind, wearing a pair like that. So that's my opinion. Let me know your opinion on, these headsets. What's your opinion on Facebook stock, Meta stock, long term? Where do you see it going? But if you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. And as always, have a wonderful rest of your day.